Today I'm going to share a quick video with you on canning roast of potatoes and carrots. This is just a quick way to kind of do some meal prepping by cooking a roast and potatoes and carrots. We used like a 5-pound roast, and we're going to get 5 quarts of roast, and then we're going to do 5 quarts of potatoes and carrots. That way we can pressure can our roast for the full 90 minutes that it needs to be in a quart jar being meat. For our area, it's 10 pounds of pressure. You'll need to check and see what it is for your area. The roast will cook, like I said, 90 minutes. Potatoes and carrots will only need to cook 30 minutes. So we're going to use the same seasoning that we season our roast with to also season our potatoes. I use Yukon Gold Potatoes, probably around 3 pounds. It was a pretty good sized bowl full. Like I said, it made 5 quarts. If you have extra, if you end up with another quart jar, just put them up and add it to one of your meals that you're trying to stretch with the roast and potatoes. But I season this meat with a seasoning that I make up. I actually dusted it with just a light dusting of flour, kind of help the meat brown. Just makes it taste a little bit better. If you don't brown beef, especially before you pressure can it, it's going to taste boiled and it doesn't taste worth a flip. The seasoning that I season with is it's just a general recipe, and I use a tablespoon each of salt, black pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, also 2 tablespoons of herbs of Provence, a teaspoon of cayenne, and a teaspoon of paprika. Then I dust my meat pretty heavy with it. Then, like I said, dusted it with just a light dusting of flour. And we're going to brown on all sides of the meat. So it's going to take a little while, but with your pan cooking your meat on high, it's going to brown pretty quick. So while it's cooking, go ahead and get your potatoes cut up and ready. I used probably 3 to 3.5 pounds to get 5 quarts of potatoes and carrots of just potatoes, and probably around 2.5 pounds of the baby carrots. I just put them in the bottom of the jar since it's a harder vegetable, and then we'll put our potatoes on top. We're going to actually season and cook the potatoes in the same pan, so it'll have the flavor of the roast actually in the jar with your potatoes and carrots. I also cut up 2 medium-sized onions into probably 1/2-inch slices, then cube those up. And we're going to put a little bit of onion on top of the roast when we seal it up, and the same with the potatoes and carrots. But just try, also when you brown your meat like this, you're sealing in a lot of the flavor and juices. So it just helps the flavor all together. If you turn it up on its end and it's not wanting to stay, just push it up against another piece of meat, and it'll hold it in place to try to get that area brown for you. Usually if we cook a roast, it goes in a Dutch oven and it's cooked 3 or 4 hours. And this actually tastes like it's been cooked in a Dutch oven for 3 or 4 hours. It's a heck of a lot easier to do it this way, in my opinion, than to try to cook that much roast and eat on it several days because they're so big. I prefer just open a jar of each and be done. I've also made stew meat that's kind of similar this way. If you want a recipe for canning a beef stew, I've got a recipe on my YouTube channel also. Like I said, while you're waiting on your meat to get prepped, go ahead and wash your potatoes. I left the skin on mine. That's up to you. I think it keeps the potatoes a little firmer by leaving the skin on. I use Yukon Gold. You could also use the red potatoes. that would be good also. See, we're pretty close to being done here. So we're going to get our potatoes ready to go in. A quick tip to be able to prep your potatoes ahead of time and then not turn brown is just put them in a container and cover them with water, and they'll stay good. Then you just drain the water off. I'm going to dust them with some seasoning. I've got olive oil in the pan, and the pan's on pretty hot. And we're just going to cook them a little bit, just enough to, like I said, get the flavor into them and kind of soak up some of these meaty juices out of the pan, so it all tastes the same and it's all going to mesh together really well because we use the same seasoning for each of the roast and the potatoes and carrots. If you're going to use russet potatoes, you'll need to peel those. The peeling on the russet potatoes are a little bit thicker and it's not as pleasing to the palate, at least in my opinion. It's not. It's a little tough. So what we did while our potatoes were cooking is I went ahead and put the roast in jars, and I cut up, like I said, 2 medium-sized onions, and I put a little bit in each jar of the roast, and I got those sealed, and actually they're already in the canner cooking. So they're on their way to cook their 90 minutes. So we're going to finish prepping our potatoes and carrots. Carrots already down the bottom of the jar, and then I'm going to equally distribute these potatoes out into those 5 jars. It actually looks pretty good in the jar. You know, even before and after you can it, it still looks pretty good. As you can see, you can see the onion down in the jars. This is before they were canned. Like I said, we got 5 quarts. They've got 3 to 4 chunks of the meat in each jar. And that's the potatoes and carrots jarred up. Just to get it all put in different canners and get it processing. This is on the left is the stew I made up. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. This is the Pressured Prepper. Have a great day.